Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Michael/PokeyOz. We talk all things investing on this channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about a pretty important topic, and that is the topic of time. And I'm not talking about just time in the market, but time for cards to show their true value, to therefore reflect what the sealed product's true value should be. And bear with me with this, because this is a pretty important topic. So when it comes to sealed prices, I'm still of the massive understanding and massive belief of this, which is the total set value equals the future sealed product price. So the stronger the total set value, the stronger the sealed product price. Now that's not to say that sets with weak total set values still won't be worth money as sealed booster boxes or sealed collection boxes or sealed elite trainer boxes. That's not to say that won't happen. I'm just saying that the stronger the total set value or the stronger the hits, the stronger the sealed product price will be. In my opinion, the better the price of the top 5 or 10 hits, which is really the true reflection of the total set value, because that's really where total set value is derived upon, the stronger the future box price will be. And whether that's an elite trainer box or a booster box, I don't care. So holiday set, main set, I'm of a massive belief of that. Now, with all that in mind, how do we know? Like, we have all these sets that come out. We have all these sets, Scarlet and Violet's just finished. We've got Mega Evolution come out. We're just about to have Phantasmal Flames come out. We've got ripper sets from Scarlet and Violet era like Destined Rivals. We've had good sets and really solid sets, I should say, like Paldea Evolved and Surging Sparks. And then we've had what people coin, weaker sets, like perhaps something like Stellar Crown or, Paradox Rift. People sit on the fence with that. Some say it's a sleeper investment. Others say it's quite a weak set and will never really go anywhere. And the question is, I guess we never really know. We never really know about what singles are really going to take off. And I want to share with you a few examples in this video to, I suppose, hammer home the point I'm trying to make. So I'm still of the massive belief, like I was saying, that total set value, which is really derived from the top 10 hits inside a set or the top 5 hits or the top 2 hits in some cases, will equal future box price. But there's been so many scenarios where sets come out of the gate and sealed price is quite weak because total hit value is quite weak. But then as time goes by, maybe due to lack of printing, maybe due to movements in the market when it comes to fan favoritism towards certain cards, they start become popular and therefore pricing rises up, that we see the reflection in sealed pricing on top of that. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about time. I want to talk a couple of examples with you. And like I was saying, the hard part is we just don't know exactly what hits will be worth heaps in the future. And here's my first example I want to give. I want to rewind back to Sun and Moon era. So when Sun and Moon era came out, it came out of the gate quite slow, almost like Sword and Shield did. It had a somewhat weak base set, it had a somewhat weak second and third set, and then we had like these mid-tier, middle-of-the-road booster box sets where we had Burning Shadows with a massive Charizard chase inside it. Then we had sets like Lost Thunder and Celestial Storm, which brought about Rainbow Lugia and Rainbow Rayquaza, but were still sort of middle-of-the-road sets. We had Ultra Prism, which had a lot of trainer cards inside there, of course, naming the Lily. And then we got towards the end of Sun and Moon, and it really started heating up. We got those tag team sets, and Team Up came out. And Team Up was the first tag team set. And I don't know if it was really taken all that fondly, this new mechanic in the game. However, as time went by, that certainly did change. And here's the first example on the screen I wanted to show you. So Latios and Latios wasn't an expensive card at all when it first came out. This data is from the Collector app. Of course, link in the description to download it. It is today's video sponsor. The Collector app is an awesome app, but all the data on here is from there. If you're a pro user, you can go back in time a fair way. So this is back to the end of 2021. And just to show you, Latios and Latios was a $200 chase card at the end of 2021. Fast forward little over 4 years, and we're at $2,590 for that chase card. And if you look at this graph, the reflection you'll see on the Latios and Latios over time and compare it directly to the booster box price graph that I'm going to bring up now, $750 to $7,500, you can see such a clear correlation between that Latios and Latios, $200 to $2,590 and the booster box price. And what does that tell you? What can we take away from this? I think we can take a couple of things away from this. The first one is we just don't know. Like sometimes cards can change. And that's really the second point we can take away from this is because we don't know, there can be cards that absolutely shoot up in price and do things that we wouldn't think they would do. And as a result from that, we start seeing that reflected really strongly in booster box price. Like this wasn't a fan favorite set when it first came out. This Latios and Latios wasn't the chase card. People were still on board with trying to chase things like Burning Shadows Charizard, for example. And look, Pokemon again wasn't all that popular at this time. In the grand scheme of things, it was still more popular in some moments that it's been, but it wasn't the most popular time for Pokemon until, of course, 2020 hit, and then 2021 came around the corner, and we had all these supply issues, of course, influencers jumping on board, YouTubers like myself starting to spruik the Pokemon card market, and everything getting bigger and bigger that we started to see just accelerated growth, particularly in 2025. So as you can see, massive correlation there. And I think the second one I wanted to show you was another example is Magikarp from Paldea Evolved. Someone is going to bag me out in the comments with how I say Paldea Evolved. Always happens. I don't know, is it the Australian slang? Probably is. But same thing, when Magikarp first came out, as you can see on the graph here, at the end of 2021, it was like, even fast forward faster than that, more forward than that, it was $26 at some stage. Magikarp from Paldea Evolved was $26 at one stage. It was not even close to being the most expensive chase card that you could pull inside this set. You had 2 Ionos on top of it, you had a couple other chase cards on top of it. Magikarp was not the most expensive chase card. Then all of a sudden it went all the way up to $400 a couple of months ago, and it's back down to being about a $300 card now. And watch this. I'm going to overlay the booster box price for Paldea Evolved on top of that. As you can see, back when Magikarp was $26, the box was about $91. It went all the way up to $476, exactly when Magikarp peaked in price. And right now it's back down to $397. So it's retraced a little bit. And look, I could use countless examples of this, that when total set value increases, booster box price increases. When we see small retraces like this in card price and chase card price, sometimes we see a small retraction in booster box price like we've seen with Paldea Evolved. Not always, but sometimes. So what does all this information indicate to you? When it comes to time and investing, we just don't know. And I suppose a comment we can make is before a booster box becomes scarce, because neither of these boxes is, Paldea Evolved is not a scarce booster box. Team Up is starting to become quite scarce. Like that's not an easy booster box to get your hands on. It's a $7,500 booster box. It was not printed very heavily at all, never got a reprint. First affected print run wasn't good, and therefore we saw quite a low print run when it came to its first initial print run, and that's made a massive impact on its sealed price and the singles price. But before a box becomes scarce, the chase cards really dictate its price. Once a set becomes scarce, it can gain value in its own right. And that's what I was trying to say at the start of this video. Just because there's not super strong chase cards inside a set doesn't mean that we can't see increases in booster box price. There's so many countless examples of that, or elite trainer boxes. Like, look at some of the elite trainer boxes from XY era. They come from very poor sets and they're very expensive because they're super collectible as a sealed product on their own. Same with some of the booster boxes from XY era. If we look at a set like Steam Siege, very weak chase cards. If we rewind back even further to Black and White era, which came out before XY era, we have arguably the weakest Pokemon card set of all time, which is Emerging Powers. Go buy yourself a cheap Emerging Powers booster box. Doesn't exist. Now, that's not to say it's the most expensive booster box in the whole Black and White era, because it's not. You know what is? It's the one with the strongest chase cards. It's sets like Plasma Storm, it's sets like Dragons Exalted from Black and White era. Why are they more expensive than Emerging Powers, the weakest set? Because the chase cards. It's all to do with the chase cards. I put a graph up not long ago with all Sun and Moon booster boxes and their total set value. And there was such a clear correlation. The highest total set value had the highest booster box price. The second highest total set value had the second highest market booster box price. Down to the weakest total set value had the weakest booster box price. Now, having said that, That doesn't mean that weakest set still hadn't gone up in price. It had still appreciated really, really, really strongly. I think the cheapest Sun and Moon booster box was somewhere around like $600 or $700 US. So still, even if you'd bought that back in say 2017 and you bought it for $90 US, look at the appreciation you've had. So regardless what you buy, you're still going to get mad appreciation. Now, with all that in mind, how do we transfer that into moving forward? Because we're into Mega Evolution. We've just finished Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet boxes are still readily available. There's talks of the Pokemon Company International reprinting several of the booster boxes to try and meet demand for them, because we know you go into any store, I know that, you just can't find product. Like it's just not about. You've got to buy it on the secondary market and it's incredibly expensive. So where do we position everything with this? I think one thing comes to mind, and that is probably diversifying. Like, it makes sense to go in on a set like Destined Rivals. Like, that's just a no-brainer, isn't it? Like, it's got the nostalgia factor attached to it. It's super popular. It was so hyped up. There was 6 months in advance people, reaching out for this Pokemon card set. As soon as that Team Rocket logo even got released, people started to scrounge around and go, whoa, there's a Rocket set coming? Like, this is going to be amazing. I can't wait. Let's put in pre-orders. People were paying heavy for pre-orders, even though we didn't even know what cards are inside the set. Crazy stuff. So that seems like a no-brainer, but otherwise, like, I think we need to diversify a little bit. Like, as much as we can talk about it, we don't really know what are going to be strong chase cards in 5 years' time. Like, if you were sitting on Team Up back in 2018, for argument's sake, and you were looking at the Latios and Latios and going, oh, geez, it's like an $80 card. Is that the best chase card inside this set? Well, I don't know if this is the best investment compared to maybe some other sets like Burning Shadows, and you go, wow, this Charizard is like a $400 raw card. Like, that is the better investment. And look at them now. Do you get the comparison I'm trying to make? We just don't know, and time will filter that out for us. As good as we are and as much nous as we might have and predictions we might have, we really don't know. Like, Prismatic Evolutions has a super strong total set value. And in my opinion, I'm happy to take the gamble on that and Destined Rivals. Like, I think they are the two best Pokemon card sets from Scarlet and Violet era from the last 18 months. 151 has shown us what nostalgia can do to a Pokemon card set and how much value can be derived from that. But Destined, Prismatic, I'm happy to take the gamble on those. Will total set values remain strong? Will they get printed in the ground and absolutely crush their total set values? Again, time will sort all that out for us. So with all that in mind, you do need to diversify a little bit. Like, how do we know Twilight? Twilight was one of those sets that from the Scarlet and Violet era was somewhat ill-received when it first came out and when the first set list came out, and people were going, that Greninja looks nice, but I wonder how the market will take to it. Some people were like, I don't really like it, there's too much colour on there, and look how the Greninjas perform now. What's to say that Greninja's not going to be a $1,200 raw Pokemon card in the future? Not saying it will be. This is just an example, and if that happens, Twilight Masquerade is going to be one of the most expensive booster boxes from the Scarlet and Violet era. Again, just an example. I'm not saying that's going to happen and that's my prediction. I'm just saying that time can sometimes change the set price, the chase cards, and therefore we'll see that reflection like I just gave the example of with the sealed product, both on the booster box side of things and the Elite Trainer box side of things. Now, also with that in mind though, I think if a set is weak, the booster box price is not going to compare to a strong set. And probably the best example to give you is going back to Sword and Shield era. Darkness Ablaze is by far the weakest booster box set from Sword and Shield era. You could pull every single chase card. In fact, you could pull a master set and you're still not going to have the value of the booster box that you've opened, which is impossible. Of course, you're not going to pull a master set from one booster box. You compare that to Evolving Skies, which its total set value is insane. It is one of the greatest modern Pokemon card sets, if not one of the greatest Pokemon card sets of all time. And with that in mind, booster box price has just gone absolutely bonkers. And look, we can compare those two sets at the start and go, look, Evolving is so much stronger than Darkness, so we're going to put more money into Evolving. So I'm not saying just diversify and spread all your money equally. I'm just saying sometimes time can change things. Like when Paldea Evolved first came out and the number one chase card was Iono, people were going, oh, cool, pretty cool set, good depth with illustration rares. But where's that mega chase card? And then all of a sudden, Magikarp popped off. And you know what happened when Magikarp popped off? Booster box price popped off. And it is one of the more expensive booster boxes from the whole Scarlet and Violet era now. So with all that in mind, I just wanted to talk about time and the impact that can have on sealed products and how you need to keep it in mind. And the fact that we don't really know. We can use our best judgment, but we don't really know what cards will pop off in the future, and therefore pull up the sealed product with it. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz. Thanks heaps for tuning in, and I'll catch everyone next time.